All right, let's do it live on a Football Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. What had felt inevitable as the days started to stack became official earlier this morning with the Cleveland Browns and Odell Beckham Jr. parting ways. Z?
Yeah, statement from Browns Executive Vice President of Football Operations and General Manager Andrew Berry. Quote, after careful consideration, internal discussions, and conversations with Odell and his representation, we've determined that it is in the best interest of all parties involved that Odell no longer play for the Cleveland Browns. We appreciate all of his efforts and contributions while in Cleveland, but we've just reached a point where it is best that we move forward as a team without Odell. We are finalizing the process of granting Odell his release, and we wish him well as he continues his career. And the bottom line is this is not a joyous day for the Cleveland Browns organization. For whatever reason, it never clicked between quarterback Baker Mayfield and wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. And here at a critical point in the season at 4-4, heading into Cincinnati, you've had to deal with this. And now Odell Beckham Jr. will no longer be a part of this organization, and he will go on to waivers, which will happen on Monday of next week, which is when he will find out where he is playing football going forward.
It had to be this way.
Unfortunately,
you
yes.
couldn't continue on with this and having ambiguity. You needed to have a conclusion to this from the Browns' perspective, which is the one we're most concerned about, from his as well. I'm sure they wanted a conclusion to it. I think that's very apparent by the actions of everything that's happened this week. You couldn't have this hanging over this team any longer. This is something that was awkward yesterday on social media. It's something that is going to continue today and throughout. But the quicker that there was resolution to this, the faster you can start to put it behind you. The best way to put it behind you is with a win on Sunday in Cincinnati. And you heard that from Coach Stefanski earlier today. You know, we're on to Cincinnati. We got a huge game. He's used the word desperate. That's as emphatic as I've heard Coach.
Death.
It's as emphatic as I've heard him
Joel
talk.
Bitonio said.
I mean, we've never heard that from Coach Stefanski. You're right, though. This is not joy. This is
a failure.
It's a little depressing. It's a failure. We're not ignorant enough to not remember that guys, Z and I did an emergency podcast on the day we traded for him that was in the top 10 in the world podcast rankings for sports podcasts.
Yeah.
That's
right.
how big of a deal this was. I told the story on the show of going up and talking to my boys and then waking them up to tell them we just acquired Odell Beckham Jr., and they went nuts, as they would. Like, we've bought the jerseys. We've had the excitement, and they are like a bunch of kids around here and a bunch of people around here. And this had the best intentions. It had the best intentions from John Dorsey. It had the best intentions from Kevin Stefanski. I think that when you started this season, the best intentions were there for Odell Beckham Jr. and this offense and Baker and coach and everybody, that this would click. And for whatever reason, and there are probably myriad reasons, it didn't. It never did. And I think if you even go back to before the injury, if you go back to even that season before the injury and you look back on it, if you're looking for moments, even the moments were fleeting. There was the big game against Dallas, of course, and that's the one you're going to circle. There was the game against the Jets that we remember in his return to the Meadowlands.
Cincy, week 2 last year.
So there were a few isolated moments. But in the end, I think what you see from this is you just leave unsatisfied, and in a way, I think it's a little depressing the way that this all went.
It feels like an opportunity squandered, and that's the bottom line for the Browns and for Odell Beckham Jr. and for Baker Mayfield and for this offense. It feels like an opportunity that was squandered. Odell is clearly talented. Odell clearly can get open for whatever reason, and as you mentioned, there are a myriad of reasons. It never clicked. They never were, quote-unquote, on the same page in the passing game at the consistent level you need to be great or to be elite. And at this point, for the Browns, what you're hoping is you head to Cincinnati, where 1 year ago, around this time, Odell Beckham Jr. was lost for the season on the very first play, an interception thrown in his direction. Baker would go from that point on to throw 5 touchdowns in that game, to win it throwing to Donovan Peoples-Jones, who made his first receptions as a Brown in that game. And the Browns rallied from there. Baker would go on to throw 20 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions the rest of that season. And so the parallels are there. No Odell. Baker going with a new receiving core to Cincinnati, a place that he's averaged 4 passing touchdowns per game to try to get this thing going. And as you said, it's clear that Odell was loved in this locker room. Just go on social media and see what people are saying to the reports about him. It's clear that people in this locker room knew that he could play. and play at a high level. That's why they said we would welcome him back at open arms, despite the strange nature of his all of a sudden going from the game against Pittsburgh to being gone. Odell Beckham Jr. tried to do everything the right way this year. He tried to run the routes the way they wanted them to run it. They tried to be in the places that it was demanded that he be in at the time he was supposed to be there to allow this offense to click. And yet it still did not work. I hate that we are here. I hate that it was handled the way that it was handled ultimately in terms of how we've gotten to this point. But the bottom line is this is a season that still has 9 games to go. This is a season that has 5 games left in the division. This is a season in which the Browns control their own destiny because everybody that they play in the AFC from here on out is somebody that they are competing with to either win the AFC North or to make the playoffs in this conference. And so it is still very much in the Browns' hands, and they need to move. It's over. And you needed closure.
You
cannot move on from
couldn't.
anything without closure. Any aspect of your life, if when there is a breakup, you must have closure to be able to fully move on. And this is the closure. And now for the Browns, the task is to move on and to go down to Cincinnati and to beat the Bengals.
The shock of this, I don't know that it's fully appreciated around the league because there obviously there was a pre-existing reputation with Odell from his time in New York. We saw none of that this year. We've seen none of that. And so I can't even imagine Coach Stefanski going to bed on Sunday night trying to swallow a bitter defeat to Pittsburgh, which he's probably saying all of the things here, there that could have been made different. And then the reality that here we sit on a Friday and Odell Beckham Jr. isn't a part of this team. I don't think anyone could have wrapped their head around that. And so the shock of that is real. The resolution had to come, though. Yep. This couldn't be something that carried out. It had to be you had to get the resolution that you got today. So I think you did. And now I think, and I do think that I talked about this earlier in the week, and I think it bears repeating. If you ever want an us against the world bunker-in mentality, one is provided for you on Sunday. Because guess who's sitting back going, boy, no one even realized we lost to the Jets last week after carrying a 2-score lead into the fourth quarter. No one's really talking about that. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. And they're sitting there waiting. And they're 5-3. They got a great young quarterback. They got a receiver in Jamar Chase out of LSU that is everything that we all hoped Odell would be in this situation. And not to put it all on him, but that you were hoping that's what this would be, that he would open it all up, that he would unlock all of it. That's what we all hoped. They're getting that out of Jamar Chase. They are electric.
From the connection, the chemistry between the quarterback, a very talented quarterback, and a very talented receiver.
Yeah, so they're waiting at their place, and they're ready. And so you've got a flight Saturday. You've got a locker room Sunday. You've got a 1 o'clock kick. If you're looking for an elixir to make this feel a lot better, winning helps. There is a ton of pressure on this team to win Sunday. You'd be naive to suggest otherwise.
There is more pressure on the Cleveland Browns now than I would say there has been since Kevin Stefanski took over as the head coach of this football team. And you could say, well, there's bigger pressure, obviously, in a playoff game. Sure. But in terms of that, it means your season ends and you've already had a great season. This is a situation where the pressure is that this season, if Joel Bitonio says that we're on the brink, that our backs are against the wall, that this is a life and death outcome for the Cleveland Browns, it is. Because you go to 4-5, 0-2 in the division. The Bengals go to 3-0 in the division with a win over everybody in the division, which goes a long, long way. This is a big, big game. And yes, to be able to put all this discussion behind you is to go out and be unified and to get a win against the Cincinnati Bengals. This is very, very, very unfortunate. This is, again, a wasted opportunity. But the good thing about the NFL is that a new opportunity presents itself every Sunday, and ours comes Sunday at 1 o'clock.
And I don't know that it could be put in a better packaging. I think it has everything that you want for it. And I think if you look at, you mentioned this last night on the coaches show, how well Baker historically has played in Cincinnati. I think if you think about the things we do well in terms of getting after the quarterback, those are things that they struggle with, protecting the quarterback. You think about what Nick Chubb, kind of forgotten man last week against Pittsburgh, and you think about how healthy and how he's chomping at the bit ready to go. You know, there's a recipe here. There's a recipe here to rally. But you must rally, because this is not where anybody thought they'd be a week ago at this time. Nobody, let alone I mean, there's no way to wrap your head around it. It's the reality of where you are. You're going to have to pick up and move on. Buddy, we're not even at the halfway point of this season yet.
No, we won't be until halftime of this game. And I think you hit on something that's key again. This came out of nowhere.
Yes.
That it went from 0 to $1 billion in the blink of an eye, fueled in large part by social media, and then just communications were non-existent. And that was it. And it's a stunning thing. It is a truly stunning thing that has happened here with the Cleveland Browns and Odell Beckham Jr. It is, again, as I said, this is not, you're happy because it's over. Because it felt like,
yes,
you know what I mean? When you're,
of course,
those scenes in the movies when you're coming towards a cliff and it's inevitable that you're going to go over the cliff. Like, let's just go over it,
get it done,
and let's move on from there. And so that's the only thing that's happy is that we have that resolution, and now you have an opportunity to move forward. But boy, you mentioned it: pressure on this football team, pressure on this offense.
Yes, big time.
Pressure on this quarterback.
Yep,
it's all there. This is a massively important game. Beyond just going 1-0 this week. This is a massively important game for this season. This is a massively important game for this locker room and what this team is ultimately going to be in the year 2021.
I think there's another thing that's kind of it's eventually I think it'll kind of almost be a case study in terms of how to handle things, or this would be the opposite of that, how not to handle things or how you hope things aren't handled. And that is the fact that this was done via social media. That's how this was done. I mean, this was something, we say Twitter isn't real. I've said that before. Well, in this case, social media was real. If you listen to the reports, you heard Coach today, he had not spoken to Odell since Sunday. Our quarterback had not spoken to Odell. Baker talked on Wednesday, said he had not spoken to Odell. Odell leads me to believe he probably still hasn't. The only contact that our head coach has had with Odell Beckham Jr. from his own mouth is the knowledge of what Odell Beckham Jr.'s father put on Instagram and what friends of Odell's, LeBron James, Damian Lillard, and others have put on social media. That's it. That's the list. Now, we knew that Andrew Berry was speaking with his representatives, but that was all brought on by social media. That's a remarkable commentary on where we are as a society. I mean, it's a sad one for me that this is – so, yeah, no, this is 0 to $1 billion. 0 to $1 billion without even I'm out. You got to get, that didn't happen here.
No. And there's been in a world in which you are able to communicate directly with the people more than ever before.
Easier than ever.
There has been silence. And so you can just go off of what you can go off of. What I hope, and if as a Browns fan, what you're hoping now is that the sample size that we have seen, which indicates that Baker Mayfield is significantly better and, in fact, an elite quarterback when Odell Beckham Jr. is not on the field, that comes to be once again over these final 9 games and into the postseason. Because that's what we need to have happen here.
That's right.
That's what we want to have happen here. As fans of the Cleveland Browns, as members of the Cleveland Browns organization, as people invested in this franchise and its outcome this season and beyond. And I think that it's easy to say, well, how does this happen? I don't know is the answer. I don't know how this did happen, but when you play a position, the most demanding position in the NFL, where you need to make decisions typically in under 2.5 seconds, reading a defense, avoiding pressure, delivering the football on time and accurately, that even if you're spending one beat, right or wrong, thinking what's going on with this, where is Odell, anything about Odell, that's going to change the rhythm of those 2.5 seconds and your ability to operate there. Yeah. And it just feels like something happened. Again, we don't know what.
No.
But something happened where the Browns were not as effective with him on the field, and Baker Mayfield in particular. And Baker, without him on the field, has been very effective. And if you're a Browns fan right now, it doesn't matter. This isn't about who's right, who's to blame. There's probably blame everywhere involved. When you have this would be a systemic failure, right? Of a talented quarterback, a talented wide receiver, a talented offensive mind, play caller, schemer, that you weren't able to have the success that you would have wanted to have with them. And so now the onus is, okay, that problem doesn't exist anymore. Now the problem is, how do we get the most of the guys that we've got here and be the team we're capable of being?
Those are your OBAM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachine.com. Coming up next, we'll let you know where the injury report is for the players who remain, and there's plenty, and they are talented, and this is a big one. We will continue to get you set over the next couple of hours. Jake Trotter in about 15 minutes from now from his side of things. Off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with digital scratch-off game brought to you by Ohio Lottery on clevelandbrowns.com and the Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards, tickets to future games. For more information, log on to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com. In terms of where we are from an injury standpoint, buddy, and you're always good at this in terms of who should you pay attention to, who should you not, as you look at the report for Sunday's game in Cincinnati, what jumps out?
I feel pretty good about where the Browns are right now. I would say the one question mark remaining would be Harrison Bryant. Whenever you suffer an injury in practice and then you go from practicing fully Wednesday, suffer the injury in practice on Thursday, then you do not practice on Friday, typically, not every time, but typically that is an indication that you will not be participating in the game on Sunday. I feel like defensively, you're good. Getting Tack back is big. We can get into that cheetah package and get after Joe Burrow, which will be very, very important to everything it is that we want to do as an offensive football team. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jarvis Landry, Denzel Ward, Tack McKinley, Jadeveon Clowney, I feel very, very good about all of those guys being available for the Cleveland Browns in this game come Sunday.
And you need him to be. Guys, it's a monster game. It is a monster game. If nothing happened off the field here this week, it would have been when you factor in the injuries to Rodgers in Green Bay and to Derrick Henry in Tennessee, this is the biggest game of the week. This is it. This is 5-3, 4-4. It's one of the smallest spreads in all of the NFL this week. Aren't they favored by 2.5? I thought that's what I saw yesterday when I was doing this, a 2.5-point line on that one, so that's not even the normal home 3. So the anticipation is that this will be a very close game. The stakes here, before anything happened off the field this week, were massive. Massive stakes.
Yep.
It's been ratcheted up by it. So there's a lot of ways this team can go. My hunch is that you have a hell of a rallying point here and that you will get a heck of a performance on Sunday down there. It's needed. It's required. It's a must. Use the word desperate. Sure. Yeah. Hungry, desperate football team. And that is one thing that will make a lot of things go away, is a win. But getting Tack back, big. Donovan Peoples-Jones, big. Boy, Denzel, love to see you. Love to see you down there.
You're going to see him.
Good.
You're going to see him.
Good. We need to. Because you need to have. When you drafted Newsome, when you drafted Denzel years ago, you drafted them to play in games like this. Greedy. Troy Hill, when he was signed, Boyd was in mind. This offense was in mind. You need your corners. You need to be at your best. I wish JOK was playing because I think he would have been great in this game.
You need that speed.
But having Tack is huge because those packages, when you can have Tack and Miles and Jadeveon, that's a problem for them to block. It's a problem for everybody, but that's a problem. So those are the things that are needed and required. I can't wait to see how this team responds. I can't.
I think that they are going to respond well because this is a team that in the past has done very well with adversity. And when you need to gut one out, they've been able to do that. And I do feel confident we'll be able to do that. One other thing I want to talk about defensively, John Johnson didn't finish the game last week. Grant Delpit stepped in and played very, very well and did his responsibilities. And there's starting to be a little bit more comfort with Grant playing the deep safety, which frees John Johnson up to be more of the guy he was in L.A., where he's playing in the box more and playing in the slot more. And so that's something to keep an eye on as this second half of the season progresses, that John Johnson is going to be moving down where he is more comfortable as a playmaker and keeping Grant a little bit higher up and deeper in the formations. And I think that's something that could lead to more turnovers and lead to this defense being even better as we go forward this season.
Did you see the Hoff last night with the shrimp?
I am not hard of seeing, although we were, for a time, unable to really soak in the television product that we enjoy so much as we were on remote.
Yes,
but
that's right.
Of course, I have gone back and I've searched out the clips, and I believe that the Hoff was done a little dirty by the good folks of St. Elmo's, who maybe went a little bit above and beyond on one of the particular
also, I felt like
cocktails that he was given.
The gimmick was a little inverted. Because the one that he said, it was like, how do you feel about their playoff chances or their ability to make a run in the playoffs? And the last, like, red hot, I feel red hot about it, was the Steelers. And I don't think the Hoff, I think they had the order mixed up. So that he ate the hottest shrimp, I should say the hottest horseradish, with the shrimp, last, describing the Steelers. And I don't think the Hoff feels like Pittsburgh's going to go win the Super Bowl. So I think they kind of screwed up the gimmick a little bit.
Fair critique.
I can empathize with the Hoff. Because I almost died at St. Elmo's eating one of those things.
Which was
and you were both witnessed.
The problem that you saw it, the moment he went to breathe through his nose, it got caught in the sinuses, you're done.
It comes in the back of your skull, it's very strange that you almost realize that you can smell the inside of your head. Mm-hmm. And that's the only, frankly, environment in which I've ever smelled the inside of my head, is when I'm eating Elmo's cocktail sauce.
It is, and if you get on that particular day when we had it, the one that I took had a big chunk of horseradish on it, and I got it in full, and because I've eaten there a ton. We've been there a lot.
You stopped talking. Your eyes were watering, and your face was red.
I thought I was going to pass out. I honestly thought I was going to pass out. That's how strong it was. I thought I was going to pass out. I couldn't get a breath.
It was
And
the three of us and Simsay, right? The Agent to the Stars.
Agent of the
Yes.
Stars.
Yeah.
Still no hoodie. No problem.
One of one.
The the amount of pressure in the back of your brain, you hit it. It comes from behind your brain. The pain does. It almost shuts off your system.
Yeah, it does something to your medulla oblongata.
Yeah.
It must.
It
The Hop,
does.
though, he persevered.
Oh, barely though. And he likes the heat.
Let me tell you something. That pregame show, the Shrimp weren't the hottest thing that he had to deal with in terms of just
No.
flamethrowing.
That came later.
And just
That came later.
uncoolness.
I was also very interested in the pregame show how Siciliano was like, oh, yeah, they sent over a bottle of bourbon. So immediately we get on a text change with Hoff, and I want to know what it is because their list is legendary. So I wanted to know, like, did they do him a real solid and give him something, from the
They're promoting the product
from the high level
that's sellable.
And I was unaware that they had their own.
That's their signature
mechanism.
drink. Is their house bourbon? It's in cola. They call it. I think they call it the St. Elmo's Cola.
I can't even wrap my head around that as a place that serves the way that they serve and has the reputation it does. That their signature drink includes cola.
Cola bourbon, which is a bourbon that's heavily infused with
But it wouldn't need
cherry and vanilla.
But it wouldn't need the cola if it's infused with the cherry and the vanilla. You
Apparently
already have that.
Too much to sip on. I did some review.
You
I
really
actually
did.
did
You're
some.
quite educated.
I did some research on this bourbon last night.
Usually you come to me for whiskey advice. It's inverted.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay. Yeah. But it was. I feel that game was. I mean, you had to love it from a fantasy perspective. You just crushed.
Let me tell you something. Was I not making the case that 3 steps with the ball is a touchdown for Michael Pittman Jr.? You better believe I was.
My guy yesterday, we're at the remote, and I go, God, I just got to go home and go to bed. I'm exhausted. You were so excited to watch. I mean, why are you excited to watch this game? This game's trash. It's going to be a beatdown, as we told you on the scores for those pay attention.
Thursday.
We're
the new cousin Sal.
We are the new cousin Sal. I don't think we lost a Thursday in 2 years.
We're 9-0 this year.
9-0 this year on Thursdays. It continues.
That's right.
You knew it was going to be a garbage game. And you said, well, that's why there's fantasy, my friend. You couldn't wait to watch the game because of fantasy.
Wentz and Pittman.
You had Pittman and Wentz in it. Good job at you.
Carson played a pretty good game.
He looks good.
He
last month.
They're good.
No, I understand, but he's fine.
Yeah.
He's more than fine. Like, he doesn't have to. That's enough.
He lost them the game against Tennessee the week before, and he still makes one, like, oh, my God, throw
he
a
almost
game.
did yesterday.
Yes.
Almost.
That should have been picked on the right side. Yeah. But he's also making a lot of very, very good throws. He was back where I remember at the beginning, I think it was week 1 last year, I was just going bonkers how Russ had 4 touchdowns and only 4 incompletions in week 1 against Atlanta. I mean, I was really losing my mind about it.
Yeah.
And for a while there, he was I think he was 18 of 21 with the 3 touchdowns. So he had 3 and 3, but I think he ended up throwing 1 more incompletion. I loved that they threw some more. And you get a throwback to the lineman
Everything
for the
you
third
want.
one.
Yeah.
And the joy on the sideline for that guy was great.
How long
That's
did
why
it take
football's
him to
awesome.
see him? My God, he was open the whole time. I'm going, look over there.
I wasn't because he was looking at Pittman.
Oh,
Let's
right.
go ahead and give him a second.
Force
Let's
it
see
in
if he can. Let's see if he can maybe make something happen here, and then we'll throw it back over there. It worked perfectly.
It did. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join him as a customer or as an employee, you'll be part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more.
By the way, real quick, because I know we got Jake coming up, and we'll talk more about what's going on here and everything for the Browns. But Mike White kind of looks like he can play, and I wonder.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 sets of names in one team.
Okay.
Heath Schuler, Gus Farrat.
Okay.
Robert Griffin III,
Kirk Cousins.
Now
RG3's injury, I
it's
feel
early.
like really derailed
it's early.
that.
It's early, but are we sure Mike White? And I realize they weren't drafted in the same class as those 2 examples were, but he looks pretty good.
He looks significantly better than Zach Wilson's looked. Oh, and by the way, there's Elijah Moore.
Yeah,
Welcome
he
back
exists.
to prominence. All of a sudden, Mike White plays quarterback. He has his 2 best games in a row.
Yeah. All right. Jake Trotter up next for Perspective. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. EOX Vantage has that local presence with a global footprint, trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. Here's a testimonial from EOX Vantage client Ed Scheel, Ed the Vice President, Skyward Specialty Insurance. The tools we've designed with EOX Vantage are real business changers that open the door for us in all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, cut way down on manual data entry and the associated input errors, and cut hours off processes and response times. Operationally, it is a brand new ballgame. Learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting www.eoxvantage.com or call 216-298-1616. And we want to learn a little bit more about how we got to this spot. And for that, we're joined by our good buddy Jake Trotter, covers the Browns, of course, for ESPN. Well, Jake, how do you put this week in perspective? I mean, it's just so shocking that you got here. Should it be, right?
It's absolutely stunning when you think about it. I mean, if I had told you guys Monday that Odell Beckham Jr. would be released from the Browns by the end of the week, you would have thought that was absolutely insane, an insane prediction. But I think when you think about it, you know, we go back to 2019, 2020, this year, it kind of makes some sense. You know, it just was not going to work. And I think a lot of people in the building, you know, kept the optimism that Baker and Odell and Stefanski and Odell within the offense was going to be able to at some point figure this out. We just kind of kept waiting for it. But, you know, I think back to that final play against Pittsburgh, or final passing play between Baker and Odell, and it just we all knew it was going to get any better from there, right? It just was what it was at that point. And you know, maybe Beckham could have helped this team in a particular moment down the stretch, but the idea that he was going to become this devastating offensive weapon, it just was not the case. That might happen elsewhere.
Sure.
You know, maybe he finds a system better suited to his skill set, a quarterback he can find a chemistry with, you know, whatever. But, you know, as stunning as this week has been and the way it unfolded has been, I don't think we should be surprised that it did come to its end.
No, and it certainly has come to its end today, Jake. And I guess kind of the question I would have is, you know, how does this team move forward for a critical game against the Bengals? And do you have any kind of sense of where things stand, you know, as it relates to that in this locker room for this team moving forward and obviously for quarterback Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody, you know, earlier this week, you know, in Baker Mayfield's orbit. And, you know, this person brought up a really good point. And I've covered a lot of these situations with Baker, going back to when he was Texas Tech and Oklahoma, you know, with the Browns. Baker has been in a lot of insane situations before. He has, I mean, you know, the flag plant, getting suspended the first series after the whole, you know, Kansas Jayhawks saga with the coin toss at midfield. You know, a lot of the drama that has been here in Cleveland, whether it's from Hugh, you know, Freddie this season. And every time Baker usually comes out of it in pretty good shape. You know, he does not wilt in this type of situation, or at least hasn't in the past. So I'm really curious to see what happens Sunday. I made the case on Twitter that this is the biggest game of Baker Mayfield's playing career. That sounds like hyperbole, and maybe in some ways it is. I mean, he's played in playoff games both in college and pro. He won a state championship in high school. But I think for Baker individually, this is an enormous game because everybody, not only us on the outside, but I think a lot of people in that locker room who are wondering what the heck happened this week are going to be wondering how Baker Mayfield responds. And I think we're going to learn a lot. It doesn't mean that, you know, that if Baker doesn't win or play well, that it's over, or if he plays phenomenally, that everything is fine. But I think we're going to learn a lot about the mettle of Baker Mayfield going forward on Sunday, and I'm really fascinated to see what happens because the deck is stacked against him in a lot of ways. They're playing a good team. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's been like to try to prepare for a football game this week. He's hurt. You know, he's got the left shoulder injury. So what is going to happen? And I think as Dan Orlovsky put it, Baker has an opportunity to prove a lot of people wrong and a few people right on Sunday.
I think that's very well said. And, yeah, I agree that the stakes are high for Baker, for this team, for the 2021 season down in Cincinnati. Now, it's a place that he has historically played very, very well, Jake. And you mentioned kind of just how do you prepare. And he even had to say earlier in the week when he spoke to me that I've had to multitask, and we have to multitask because of this. How important do you think it is that the closure came today with the official statement that the relationship between the Browns and Odell Beckham Jr. is over, and that now, historically, Baker has been a much better quarterback, dare I say an elite quarterback, without Odell Beckham Jr., and that's going to be the case in Cincinnati, as it was basically 1 year ago when he went to throw 5 touchdowns in the game after the first play, which saw Odell suffer that season-ending injury.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote that week last year after the Cincinnati game. I didn't know if the Browns were going to be better off without Odell Beckham, but I had a pretty good feeling that Baker was going to be better off. And we didn't know what was going to happen. To that point, outside of the Cincinnati game, Baker had not played well last year. I mean, he was really struggling, in some ways more so than he has even this season. And it was like a switch was flipped the moment Odell Beckham left the field. Because remember, on that first series, the play that Odell got injured on, what happened? Baker threw an interception the week before at Pittsburgh, kicked off for a pick six on the opening drive. As soon as Odell left the field, it was like a completely different quarterback. It was 2018 Baker Mayfield. It was Oklahoma Baker Mayfield, and he only sailed from there. From week 7 to week 15, Baker Mayfield was the third best quarterback in the NFL statistically. The only two guys that were ahead of him were the last 2 MVPs, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. So if you're a Browns fan looking for optimism, go look at those QBR splits. I don't have it memorized, but throwing to Odell Beckham, scale of 0 to 100, Baker was like a 50-something targeting OBJ. To everybody else, he's been an 85. That is like an elite-level quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna find out a lot about, how much Odell has been affected in Baker over the last 3 seasons, and then, what Baker can be without Odell Beckham messing with him, which I think clearly has been the case.
Jake, you've been around the guys all week. We've seen some of their social media comments refuting some of the reports that have been out there. We heard Miles talk earlier about Odell's his guy who's frustrated he wasn't getting the ball. What is your level, of concern of team split or bitterness? Obviously, win solves that. Nathan and I have been making that. You win, then that solves it. But I think that speaks to a little bit of the importance of Sunday. What have you seen this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, listen, Odell he draws a lot of attention. He creates some drama. I don't think anybody would dispute that. But this narrative out there that Odell was a, quote, bad teammate is just totally false. Now, maybe there's somebody in the locker room that doesn't like Odell. Anywhere anybody works, you're probably going to find someone that doesn't like you. But Odell was an extremely popular person in that locker room. And he cultivated that by some of the stuff he did. He's getting guys' shoes before the season. He, taking some of the young receivers under his wing. There's a number of examples of that. I mean, Beckham was in a lot of ways, a beloved teammate. And I think people in that locker room were empathetic to his plight. I mean, Myles Garrett said it today. Like, we knew he wanted the ball. He wasn't getting it. We understood that frustration. We want the best for him. And Baker said it on Wednesday. Like, I want the best for Odell as well. So, I think it's something to watch. Not that it's like dividing the locker room, Baker versus Odell, but, you lose a guy like that had so much gravity, not only on the field, but off it as well. It can have an impact. And they're going to need other people to step up. I think Jarvis Landry is going to be a really key guy for this team. Not that he wasn't already, but especially now going forward, because I think a lot of guys in that locker room are going to take their cues from Jarvis Landry because he's Odell's closest friend. He has had a great rapport with Baker Mayfield. It feels like now more than ever, guys, that Jarvis Landry has to be the glue of this team.
Yeah, certainly does. Really appreciate your perspective, Jake. Thanks for giving us a little bit of it today on short notice, bud.
Okay, guys. Good to talk to y'all. Take care.
All right, that's our great friend Jake Trotter. joining us on the hotline there. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you are going to be part of the family there. And whether you're buying or selling a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, always a winning strategy. If you plan to make a move this season, they're going to have you covered there, because at Howard Hanna, every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/Go Browns today. We'll have a little fun with some over-under coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. We want to thank our great friends from Buffalo Wild Wings on the food drop today. How about this? B-dubs with a new sauce, Doritos Spicy Sweet Chili Sauce. Wings topped and spicy sweet chili sauce topped with Doritos Spicy Sweet Chili flavored tortilla chip crumbles. My God, how decadent.
That sounds just
unbelievable.
Delightful.
It's available for a limited time, and the holidays are here, and BW's gift cards make the perfect gift. For every $30 gift card purchase, receive a Blazin' bonus card. Blazin' bonus cards are valued at a minimum of $5, maximum of $100. Values vary. Hope you get a lucky one on that front. If you're hosting a holiday get-together, Buffalo Wild Wings Wing Party Menu is an excellent addition to the party. All party menu options can be found at buffalowildwings.com. Delivery available through the website, of course. Several B-dubs also have private party rooms. Contact your local B-dubs and have your party at Buffalo Wild Wings. Time for a little over and under, and much like our team, no chestiness.
It doesn't matter. My chestiness lasts for weeks. I still am the champion because I won the most recent match, and
that's true.
The champion cannot lose on a tie.
In a wrestling scenario,
I am still a champion.
Yeah.
And by the way, we were down there in the cafe Thursday, which is our tier day where we can go down the cafe and see the good folks, and they get excited. We get excited. It's Thursday. Food will
Remember
be
how we would be
all.
Excited by the soups in the old days?
Boy.
Pre-pandemic. Just a nice soup review on this program.
I still think about that.
What a delight. Are you kidding me? That split pea, I'll never forget that split pea that Chef made. Are you kidding me?
With the giant pieces of the ham in there, it was just elite. Anderson's eat your heart out.
It was unbelievable.
It was good. So we were down there, and people were clearly it had made the rounds. The match, the robe.
What an innocent time.
The greatness of it just a week ago. How different things can be in a week. And so, it was down there, and they were loving it. And what was, they thought it was Halloween. I said, no, it was not Halloween. Actually, it was just to celebrate me becoming the over-under champion and turning in the first perfect week of the season and really setting a new standard. And Gibbs wanted to chime in with, my record's better for the season. And they were like, but.
He said, congratulations on being the weekly champ.
And they said, but wait, so you're saying he beat you most recently.
Yeah.
So you're the most recent loser is what they said. I mean, their words.
Interesting. Most recent loser. That does not seem like the cafe people, but
no, they're quite nice people.
They heard it.
That Nathan is trying to besmirch.
They
heard
it.
They
must have heard it. They tuned into the Friday segment last week because they loved it. They loved what they saw, what they heard from the match, and they heard Match call you the most recent loser, and I think they were parroting it and correct. They were correct.
There's some people in the building who could take a spin class from you.
Jeez.
Peloton stock in the tank.
Not great, Bob. Not great.
Not great.
Costco, real well. Nice little earnings report there, kids. You guys both went 2 and 3. Z, you are 18 and 22. Gibbe, 22 and 18 on
boy, that
the
gap is
season.
That gap is
since
narrow.
You are
can't be comfortable.
It
used to be like 30.
Since you are the reigning champion,
that's right. Thank you.
We will start with you and Nick Chubb, 101.5.
For this segment, I'd like you to just call me champ.
Nah.
Don't call me like Jason. That's rude.
Jason
Garrett. You call me Coach. Don't call me Nathan. Call
I thought
me
you were referring to calling him Jason.
You can call him Jason if you want. I think
Nathan.
It feels appropriate.
Nathan. Chubb, 101.5 rushing
I don't hear
yards. You. Over under. 101.5.
The Bengals have been pretty good run defense.
Rush yards, not total, just rush.
They've been just rushing. 101 over. I believe.
Nick Chubb. Give it.
Nick Chubb rushing yards.
101.5.
Under. Because we're going to sling it around the yard.
Oh, boy.
Like nobody's business.
Next.
Over or under.
On the total yards passing to.
Give it. Joey Football. Joe Burrow. Quarterback rating. 108.5.
Under. Come on, man. I'm jumping him. I don't care. I'm the champ. Champion's prerogative.
All right. Give it.
Over.
Oh, you went under.
Yeah. Give a.
Next.
Over or under.
Feels like we're
this one's for you. This one's for you, Z. Jamar Chase. Over or under our receivers' total yards?
Our receivers. Next.
So under.
Yes, our receivers will outproduce just Jamar Chase.
Well, they haven't to this point. Give it.
Under. Agreed.
Okay.
I love the arrow.
Over or under.
Sacks, interceptions, and fumbles. Give it. 4.1.
Under by 1.
4 does it. 4 would do it. That's a nice number for you guys. I was very hospitable here.
I thought you said 4.1.
4.1. So if he gets under, would be 4.
Yeah, so you go under by point. He said he's going under by 1, which would be 3.1, which I don't even know what that means.
Right.
I'm having a hard time getting my head around that. To ask for 5, come on, let's do 3.5 and let's make a real number. Would you go over or under 3.5?
No, I'm doing 4.1. It's my game.
Yeah.
You're under 500. You don't get to
the
rewrite
pick.
the game.
The disrespect being shown the champ right now is
Go.
outrageous.
You're a champ of nothing right now. It's 2021. You're 4 games back. Next.
I'm leading his answer.
I'm all in. Over. I don't care. I have
Slump City.
enthusiasm.
Next.
Over or under.
Oh my gosh, you got to see what the actual is. Hold, please.
This is why we're not going to get to Andrew Berry on time. That's why we can't have nice things.
That's not true. This is gonna.
That's
I'm
not
gonna
true.
get this in
30 seconds.
30 seconds tops, Coach. 46.5.
Over.
Shootout in the Queen City. Z.
Under.
Wow, this is moving week. This is moving week. Andrew Berry will be at the podium at the other side of this quick timeout. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. You're on the injured list. Get a little help back in the game. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Our general manager and vice president of football ops, Andrew Berry, will be at the podium momentarily discussing what has been a surreal week. I think it hit home when you were talking about a week ago. We're doing the Macho Man on the show, and then a week later, here we sit with everything that's happened. I think the word of the day from the team standpoint, if you're trying to get in the mind of players, is the word you want to push is opportunity. Everything is still there. You're 4-4. You're not 2-6. You're not 1-7. You're 4-4. You play 5 games against the AFC North, including one on Sunday against the team that's directly ahead of you in the standings at 5-3. And so opportunity presents, and that's what I think Cincinnati is, and I think that would be the rallying cry if you could pick one. That's it.
Yeah, an opportunity lost. And yet a new opportunity presents itself.
Oh.
And as I was promised last night that is darkest before the dawn.
That's right. What a
which
moment
means
out of me.
Dawn is coming. It was a great moment by you, huge B moment. And that means that dawn's coming. And I hope that dawn is fully in view at around 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon down in Cincinnati when the Browns are able to beat the Bengals in what is a critically important football game for a season that is truly, you feel, and it's wild that we felt like this. We've been at this crossroads. Going into Denver felt like a crossroads game, and here's another one. We need to find a way to stack some wins and give ourselves some cushion, but unfortunately we've squandered, as we've talked about, some of those fourth quarter opportunities thus far.
The margin for error is gone. That's where you're at, and that's that sets the backdrop for Sunday afternoon in Cincinnati. Big week down there. The University of Cincinnati has college game day there, so they'll be there for that. And then our game, which, when you consider the injuries, not only is it so important to us, but around the league, one of the marquee games in the week is the Battle of Ohio. What do you anticipate hearing from Andrew Berry at the podium?
I don't know.
No, I don't either.
I don't know.
It's first one of these he's had to do.
Yeah, that is it's going to be interesting. I would imagine he's going to accept questions, and
I would think
because he's already made a statement.
Yeah.
So what I hope to hear is just lay it out for people. Were you as blindsided as it feels like everybody else was by this? And what has happened from, just kind of walk us through, I guess, what's happened from the end of the game Sunday to today.
Yeah.
What's happened? I don't think it's really any more complicated than that. And it certainly will be interesting because clearly from the commentary from some of the more prominent players on our team, they don't know. Now, I don't know if I don't need every full detail. There's certain things that should remain private between the parties, obviously. But if he's talking, I imagine it's going to be to shed some light on how did we get here? What have the discussions been like? Why are we here now at this final resolution? And what do we do going forward?
Yeah, I think in these scenarios, what you're trying to do, if you're Andrew Berry, is be transparent, and that's something that he and you think about the Stefanski era, the Andrew Berry era. You think about everything that they've shot for. That's it, is to be transparent, to be straightforward. That's why we were, as we've talked all week and dealt with this all week. One thing that you felt pretty strongly about is that you needed to have some resolution to this, like this hanging over. It starts to mushroom a little bit with it hanging over. And so It's done. You can move on. You can pull the Band-Aid off and move forward. But you had to have that. And without it, the ambiguity is where you get lost. And so I'm hoping that's what – I believe that's probably what you'll get out of Andrew Berry. He's pretty straightforward. You ask him a question, you're going to get an answer. I think that's probably it. I also think there's only so much he can say because there's only so much – it's my understanding there's only so much
Yep.
He knows as much as anybody, but this has been a situation where there's a lot of – this is a disappearance in many ways. So, you're kind of trying to make sense of all of that, and I think you hit it. This has been the word of the day. The word of the week is shocking, is that it got here, this fast. As you said earlier in the show, 0 to $1 billion. So you'll get Andrew Berry's side of things, and he'll – answer these questions, and we'll see what comes of it. The reality, though, is this. There's nothing that he will say at a little after 2 o'clock on a Friday that's going to change anything about Sunday. And there's nothing that he's going to say today that's going to change the way you feel about things if you don't win on Sunday.
Right.
So those are that's where you stand at this point. Here is Andrew Berry at the podium.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thought, obviously with the statement this morning and the roster move that we're eventually going to make with Odell, I thought it was important for me to spend a little bit of time with you guys this afternoon. I don't think anyone envisioned when the organization traded for Odell 3 years ago, that this would really be the resolution. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, there are just some situations in the NFL where things just don't quite work out. That being said, I do want to say that Odell, he's a good person who brought a special energy in the building. Developed a lot of really strong relationships with teammates, staff members, coaches, and we really do want all parties to kind of emerge from this successfully. But that being said, there are times in with business partnerships where things don't just work out, and that's where we are today. Those decisions are incredibly difficult, but at the end of the day, it's a decision that I felt was appropriate for our team. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Andrew, last summer or this week, was there ever a realistic opportunity to trade him?
Yeah, realistically, you guys know I don't talk about trade transactions or anything like that in those settings. I'll keep those discussions private. Realistically, there are a lot of players that get discussed among teams. Very few of them actually get serious. But again, I'll keep all those discussions private.
When did you know he was wanting out, Andrew?
Yeah, again, any discussion that I would have with player representation or something along those lines, those topics I'll keep internal.
When things go, you can't say if there's a trade request made, in the off season.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that's really appropriate to discuss.
Well, when things started to go sideways, at least on social media on Tuesday, before the deadline, would you guys have been better off trading him before the deadline as opposed to cutting him like you are now?
Yeah, to be honest, Scott, I don't know that this really isn't about a video. It is about really a series of discussions, really certainly over the last week, but even spanning back longer than that. And, at times I do think that there is a, whether you want to call it a level of, frustration that exists that just really makes it difficult to have a productive, reconciliation or reintroduction.
So when you're such a high profile, talented player, fans really have a hard time reconciling how on earth that can't work. Could you just, I understand there's things you don't want to reveal, but could you just kind of, in layman's terms, explain why this thing fell apart the way it did and why it didn't work out?
Yeah, I know that's always tough because the reality in these situations, there is some information that's probably not as appropriate to disclose, more publicly. I can tell you that, really everybody's put a ton of time and energy into it, and everybody's, disappointed that this is the outcome. But it is where we are. And just sometimes they don't work out, and we have to move forward and focus on Cincinnati.
When you say it wasn't the video, when did it become clear though that this was untenable? Because obviously he did play on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I think it is something that became clear to me really realistically in the past couple days. I think that's a fair question. So that's the answer.
Andrew, we know you're talking to his representatives, but did you actually get to talk to Odell in the last few days about any of this and try to just straight to the source, work through it?
I did talk to Odell. Now again, the details of those conversations, they remain private. I can tell you the discussion, it was cordial and it was professional. But again, I'm not going to share what my conversation was with him in this
Andrew,
setting.
did you talk to current players about their feelings with Odell and if they would welcome back in the locker room?
Yeah, so to begin, have had discussions with some of our players, but the nature of this discussion isn't necessarily about making the decision. Ultimately that's something that I felt was most appropriate for the organization after internal discussions with his reps, obviously discussions with Odell, but we certainly did have follow-up conversation with guys in the locker room.
There's a lot of data now that
Baker has just been better when either Odell's not been on the field or when he's been throwing the ball to somebody else. Are you interested to see, what Baker does going forward now that this is, in the past for you guys?
Yeah, again, to me, this isn't this really isn't like a Baker question. All I can say is, like, I think Odell's a talented player. I think, the offense, function well with him. I think we've seen it function well, when he hasn't necessarily been available, and, we're focused on making sure that we can score as many points as possible for the rest of the season.
Have you completed the process of the separation, or is there still work that needs to be done with his representation?
There's still procedural elements that we have to work through. So that's what we're doing right now, and hopefully that'll be finalized in the next few days.
Before Tuesday, did you feel headed this way, or is this really the last 72 hours?
I'm sorry?
Before Tuesday, did you feel like it was headed this way, or is this really the last 72 hours?
I don't know that I could really put my finger in terms of exactly when I felt this way. Probably, realistically, it felt like it was potentially heading there, maybe at a little bit of a point earlier. But again, after enough discussions with his reps internally and just thinking through things, I thought this was most appropriate.
Are you concerned that this could be somewhat divisive within the locker room, considering the social media activity that did take place this week? Baker was thrown in the middle of it and, pretty much publicly criticized. Are you concerned about that being divisive and people taking Odell's side or being on Baker's side, stuff like that?
Daryl, I think we have a strong locker room full of a number of professionals, and I know that their focus is on beating the Cincinnati Bengals this Sunday. Speaking realistically, any decision like this, the reality of it is you're not necessarily going to get consensus anywhere. And I think people realize that and acknowledge that. But again, at the end of the day, some things don't work out. And, my job is to make sure that I make the decisions that I think are in the best interest of the team.
Miles said today that he wasn't the first one who said that he was disappointed that the players weren't informed about what was going on, and just he felt this spiraled out of control. I mean, was there anything you wish you could have done differently?
No, it's a good question, Maura. I think, the reality is it's always tough in these situations, because I think, number one, as you guys are learning, there are some details that aren't appropriate to be shared with everyone. But I think even secondly, like, over the past couple of days, we were working through and working towards just the final resolution. So, being able to share everything or just the finality of it, it really would have been premature.
Andrew, along those lines, do you think that, are you confident that everything was done from the Brown side of things to, repair the relationship before this resolution was reached?
Yeah, again, I think there was a lot of time and energy spent really on all sides of this. And I think there are a number of considerations at play. And I think, again, this was the right decision at this point in time.
Andrew, off that, was there motivation to get this done quickly? It could have maybe drug out, but just best for everybody to go quick and get this over with?
Yeah, I honestly, I think the focus was trying to do it on the best way possible, the right way possible for all involved. Because it is a little bit of a complicated dynamic, and we're trying to work through that in the best manner possible.
How did you resolve the contract stuff, Andrew?
Yeah, I think you know me well enough. I don't talk about contracts in this type of thing in any regard.
Well, then can I ask you this: do you have a preference whether or not Odell is claimed off waivers or goes to free agency?
Yeah, again, I'm not going to talk about contracts. I would just tell you this, like, wherever Odell is, like, we're gonna face talented guys every week. So, the reality is, once all of that is finalized, like, we wish him success, and we're gonna focus on our next opponent.
Andrew, there were weeks where there was a concerted effort to get the ball to Jarvis. Why wasn't the same done with Odell? Why was he not a part of the offense when it seemed like he was a playmaker not being utilized?
Yeah, I guess I would push back a little bit on that notion. I think that, really in the passing game in this system, it's designed to get the mismatch. And I think we have a number of skilled pass catchers. And from week to week to week, that can be a different player. I think the other element of it is, I do think our coaching staff was, very focused on getting Odell involved. I think, if you look at it, first 8 weeks of the season, he was our most targeted pass catcher, and he did it in two fewer games. Now, that being said, being critical of ourselves, I think Kevin mentioned earlier in the week that, hey, there were moments where he thought he could have done a better job of exploiting Odell's talents, but at the end of the day, he was a big part of it, and it may not have been as smooth as we all would have liked at certain points, but I think the notion that he was ignored or anything along those lines certainly wasn't the case.
Over your tenure here, you've made this impactful culture change, and you don't want to see anything like this obviously derail that. What goes into making sure this is just maybe a speed bump and not something that can derail all the projects you guys have? No,
it's a great question, because these are always difficult, right? Because there are real relationships that have been formed over the past 3 years since Odell's been here. But look, these difficult decisions exist every year, and we try to be as empathetic as we can. We try to communicate as best we can, with the appropriate information, and that's just something that we have to continue to work at every day.
Kind of along those lines, what was there an element to this, especially after Tuesday, of maybe trying to protect the culture you guys are building here and not having something like that happen to undermine it?
Do you mind? I'm sorry, I didn't quite get
I guess kind of along the lines of the culture you're trying to build. Is there an element to this, especially after what happened on Tuesday, of maybe trying to protect that and forcing the decision a little bit?
I guess, probably we try to protect our culture daily. I don't know that I would make a great grand statement with this transaction. I just think the reality is it didn't work out, and that became apparent over the past couple of days, and thought it made sense to move on.
I guess when it comes to the communication aspect of this, following up on Marlo's question, when you have a situation like this, how do you view your responsibility to communicate to the other players that are here? How much of that is your responsibility?
Yeah, no, I think that does fall on us, me and Kevin, and it's tough. I'll be honest, it's tough, and I don't know that we ever get it 100% right. Just to be candid, but at the same time, it's a difficult and sometimes nuanced situation where, look, there are pieces of information, there are discussions, there are conversations that just aren't appropriate to share in a broader context. It's not fair to all the parties involved, and so you do your best to try and balance it, to share enough where people can understand enough of the why, to at least look at it from multiple perspectives. But there always is going to be an element of that. People will want more or hope for more that, unfortunately, you just can't always share.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You guys are up.
All right, there's Andrew Berry at the podium on the Odell Beckham situation, and I think that, I just go back to what we've been saying all week, just the utter shock and surprise of it all, and it seems like you got that from Andrew as well.
Yeah, and not much was shared there, and
no.
He just said, look, a lot of that is private between us. I think that one thing I would just urge people, and if you listen to this show, I think you know this already, but at this point, okay, the Browns and Odell Beckham Jr. came to the decision that his time here would be over.
Yeah.
Andrew Berry and the Browns are under no obligation to do anything other than state the facts about it, that we decided our time was over, that was it. Andrew Berry was under no obligation whatsoever to open this by saying that Odell was a good person. He brought a special energy to the building. He formed great relationships with teammates, with staff in various walks and aspects of this organization. Folks, this is a situation that did not work out, period. But the notion that was put forth in an anonymous NFL Network report yesterday that he was a malcontent and disruptive and all of those things is not true.
No.
And I think if you look at the responses from his peers, it's not true. And you could say, oh, well, that was the locker room. This is Andrew Berry.
Yeah.
And if I know anything about Andrew Berry, he doesn't say anything that he does not 100% believe with conviction, and he will not offer things that he believes that he is speculating about. And in fact, chooses to keep many of his feelings private. So the fact that he said those things to open this, to me, says everything you need to know about the way that Odell Beckham Jr. conducted himself while a member of the Cleveland Browns.
Until Tuesday morning.
And then that was it.
And that's – I encourage Jake Trotter, who we had earlier, just published his report. I encourage you to take a look at that because I think it explains quite a bit of these things. We have a game to play on Sunday. We'll get your keys to victory. Coming up next, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, here from my friends at Raising Cane's, and I encourage you to stop by Raising Cane's this Thanksgiving season. Enjoy hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers with the Peanuts Gang. Visit RaisingCanesGear.com to purchase a limited edition Peanuts t-shirt. Net proceeds will be donated to Canine Companions and a great mission to provide trained assistant dogs to people with disabilities. And if you're looking for a place to have fun while working hard, Raising Cane's certainly is hiring. Visit workatcanes.com or text RC Jobs to 97211 for more information. Raising Cane's, one love, your keys to victory. Dr. Z.
All right. Yes, there is a football game to be played
yes,
on Sunday of great importance for the Cleveland Browns. Number one, and really, you could really stop it right here. Get out to a fast start and finish the game. In 2020, the Browns were 10-0 when leading at the half, 9-0 when leading after three quarters. This year, 3-2 when leading at the half. The real crush of the Browns sit at just 4-3 when leading after three quarters. That's right, the Browns have held the lead going into the fourth in 7 of their 8 games, which is a remarkable accomplishment. By comparison, the 5-3 Bengals have been ahead after three quarters in just 5 of their 8 games, and yet their record is better. They have been tied after three quarters in 1, and yet all 5 of their victories have come in those 6 games in which they were either tied or ahead. If we had that same closeout rate, we're 7-0. The Browns must get out to a lead on the Bengals and close them out like they're capable of doing. The Bengals 0-2 when trailing after three quarters, and all-time under head coach Zach Taylor, they are 0-21, which to me is a staggering statistic. They have never won a game when trailing after three quarters under head coach Zach Taylor. The Browns need to get up to a fast start. Should be noted the Bengals are a good quick start team, 4-1 when tied or leading after both the first quarter and halftime, 5-1 when tied or leading after the third quarter. Number 2, you got to disrupt Joe Burrow. The guy is just ridiculous from a clean pocket, 3rd in yards, touchdowns, and yards per attempt, 6th in Pro Football Focus passing grade from a clean pocket, 7th in quarterback rating. He is excellent against the blitz as well. 825 yards, most in the NFL, 11 touchdowns, second most, and the highest graded quarterback, 94.4 against the blitz per Pro Football Focus. The Browns need to get to the edges. Jonah Williams and Riley Reif, they've given up 7 sacks and 28 pressures so far this season, and they've got to find a way to get that sack strip fumble. We haven't had one yet this year, and yet the Browns had one in each of the 2 games against the Bengals and Joe Burrow a year ago. Also, look for some pressure up the middle against center Trey Hopkins coming back from a torn ACL. Jeff Hobson told us how he has really been struggling, and so you've got to push that pocket and hopefully make Burrow uncomfortable. And finally, win the turnover battle. It's easy. The Bengals 4-1 this year when they win, or are even in the turnover battle 1-2 when they lose it. All time under Zach Taylor, they are 1-18 when they have lost the turnover battle.
Pretty good.
The lone win coming this season against Baltimore in Week 7. The Browns last year were even and plus in the turnover battle against the Bengals in those games, but winning the turnover battle on the road as they did a year ago will be critical for the Browns heading back to Cleveland with a big division win and a 5-4 record, and hopefully some peace of mind.
Well said, sir. Keys to Victory presented by CDW. CDW is the preferred technology partner of your Cleveland Browns. CDW, people who get it. A little fun on a Friday, much needed. The Scores coming your way next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Imagine kicking back in the evenings on your very own hot tub. Now imagine actually being able to afford one at Northeast Factory Direct. You can, because they buy hot tubs by the truckload. Northeast Factory Direct took everything you hate about shopping away, guys. There's no big fancy showroom, annoying high-pressure salespeople. Northeast Factory Direct is a simple warehouse. The sales staff doesn't work on commission. They pass the savings on to you. So if you always wanted a hot tub but thought you couldn't afford one, you can at Northeast Factory Direct. And I encourage you to see for yourself like I did. West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia, or shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. I believe I'll take a soak tonight with young Bootsy.
I'm rather envious.
Demerit.
Not a demerit. It was on.
I think you're safe. You're safe?
I don't know about that.
I feel like he's always got it out for me.
You feel like?
I'm not the only one who thinks that
Couldn't
either.
you just say he always has it out
Yeah,
for me?
he always has it out for me. Why?
Yeah, I feel
Look
like
at the big brain on Nathan, I think.
Why?
Jeez. And revels in it. Revels in having it. And just a big glug on the Yeti there out of you.
Yeah.
As well, Gibbe. Are you ready for scores, sir?
I don't know what I'm ready for at this
Us
point
either,
in the
pal.
ballgame.
Honest to God. Like, yeah, I need a little joy on a Friday, and scores usually provide that.
Well, let's see if we can do that for you. First and foremost, well, not much joy in Mudville last week, kids.
Nope.
Ended up not being nearly as bad as it could have been.
Sir Mix-a-Lot over here.
No, I ended up on the weekend. There were 15 games. I ended up at 6-9. You ended up at 7-8.
Oh.
Is that what you had, Beau?
What was that?
7-8 for you?
Yeah.
Okay. -1. Still sitting, both of us, more than 20 games over 500. So you're welcome.
It's good and terrible.
Off to a 1-0 start this week.
That's right.
20 games over 500 is spectacular.
Stunning.
It's dripping
Picking
in greatness.
every game.
Picking every game, not the 5 we like.
That's right.
With the number.
Everyone.
Scores. For 4 years. How long have you been doing this? 4 years when you dominating these?
And ages.
Putting kids to college, Gibbe. Putting kids through college on this show.
Godspeed, man. Unfortunately, I can't cash in on your successes.
We're happy to be able to do it.
We're happy to
It's
do it for
our
the
little
people.
gift for the people.
I don't know about you, Gibbe, but it sounds to me
Sure.
like you are a person who is selfish and that your joy comes from only things that benefit you, whereas
Sad.
my joy comes from giving
benevolent
to others. That's right. For your enjoyment.
I don't even know where this is
your
coming
happiness is therefore my happiness.
There's no selfishness.
I'm not selfish.
You have the joy.
I'm sowing the seeds of love.
Yeah.
I believe that was a song.
I don't know from where, though.
Seeds of love.
I don't know if those are the correct lyrics.
Sowing the seeds.
I don't know that.
That's
song.
right.
I know
I'm
the
looking
song.
it up
I don't
right
know
now.
if
Do you
that's
know
the
this song?
lyrics.
Is it Tears
yes.
for Fears?
Yes, I think so.
I don't know the song.
I'm looking it up right now.
All right, while we're
Seeds of
doing
love.
that,
Tears for Fears, sowing the seeds of love.
Good job out of you.
Atlanta, New Orleans. Saints going to start Trevor
sowing the
Siemian,
seeds of
but
scores.
maybe Taysom Hill's going to play a little bit.
No, he's not.
You sure about that?
Well, Trevor Siemian's starting.
Trevor Siemian starting. Per James Palmer, don't be surprised if Taysom Hill is in there at times.
Yeah.
He will be probably. Right.
Ruh-roh.
They love him.
They do, and I don't understand it.
140 million. You're buying Trevor Siemian on the depth chart. Okay. By the way, he now is on the Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Along with Flynn. Matt Flynn. Was Matt Flynn?
Yeah, Matt
as
Flynn.
quarterbacks who have made the most money, not because of draft status, but who have made the most money for nothing.
Well, wouldn't Chase Daniel be in that conversation too?
But Flynn got paid off of one game, week
correct.
17. Green Bay gets
And
straight
same
throws
with
for
Hill.
400. Gets paid
That's
starter
right, $12
money
million a year. That's
to go
right.
to Seattle, and Russ beats him out. That was Russ's rookie year.
That's right.
Never started.
No, that's true. That's true.
Taysom Hill's never going to start.
No, and makes $12 million a year to be a fullback.
I remember we went down there and he was their kick returner.
It's just
And
ego,
I'm
right?
like,
It's just ego from Sean Payton. Like, I'm right
don't
on
know.
this. I'm going to pay him, and trust me, I'm right. It was like the one year he wanted a first-round pick for him in a trade, and he's just so stubborn that he just refused.
Blind.
He just
Blind.
refused. Look, Atlanta, I do the opposite. I hate them. They're gutless. Everybody knows that. New Orleans, 16. Atlanta, 13.
Don't flock with the Falcons. Kyle Pitts, I'm calling on you, big fella. Same, but same.
Buffalo visiting Jacksonville.
I think that could be a 10,
Welcome to the
10-3
cesspool of
game.
America, Buffalo
10-7.
fans. Bills Nation.
How did-
Going to be partying up in Jacksonville. Where? I have no idea because there's not really anywhere to party.
The pools.
Oh my gosh!
In the stadium.
Sawgrass. You just got to get out of downtown.
Yeah.
Well,
Get to
it's
Jack's
easier
Beach.
said than done.
Valid. Get to Jack's Beach. You've seen Urban's recruiting. He's building facilities down there. He's got a lot of 5-star kids coming in.
There's a lot of property to buy up and build.
They won't even give him a chance.
Give him a chance.
Give him a chance to pitch you.
Come and grind in Jacksonville. Buffalo by $1 billion. $1 billion.
Bills. $1 billion.
Billion. Don't do it. Don't you do it.
Yes.
Jacksonville.
Oh, God.
900.
No.
99 million.
Oh, no.
999,985.
Yeah, you're safe.
Same.
Had to do the math.
That was
Same.
true. Did you, at any point, my favorite thing he does is when he gives it this. I like when Swag gives us the backwards dice roll.
Yeah.
That's my
He just
favorite.
throws it at us.
I like that one a lot. Were at any point going through that, were you nervous that you'd get the right amount of nines? Or did you have it the whole time?
I was ready.
God bless you.
Felt good about it.
That's impressive.
I was nervous the
I will
whole
give you
time.
that,
I was like,
'cause
geez, do we have the right amount of nines?
And really, I want you to know that until after I said 980, it was at that moment that the decision was made.
That you
Because
were
it
gonna
was
do
going
every
back
nine.
and forth.
Am
It
I
was
really
going back
gonna
and
do
forth. Am I
this?
going 86 or am I
Sure.
going 85?
Oh,
And it
you
was-
really were.
I was 86 for a lot of it, like in the
Wow.
in
You
the
thought young-
millions, but then in the thousands, I was at 85, and then we went back to 6 when we were at
Wow.
900, and then we said 80, it was back, and that's how 5 came out.
You were that close to Sunshine Lawrence.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
knocking.
Going to be a Bills home game down
Yep.
there.
It will be. Up next, Denver visiting Dallas. Do we have any? I don't have an update on CeeDee Lamb, but
I know ankle in practice, but
Yes.
Dak is playing.
Dak's playing. Cowboys 55, Denver 4. 2 safeties.
wow, impressive defensive effort. Minus
Cowboys 30. Teddy to Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, gosh.
Late to make it 30 to 21.
Wow.
He's in a dome.
2 gloves
He
in a
is
dome.
much better indoors.
I just think they push the chips in.
Well, this one's up for inmate game of the week.
This is
Houston visiting Miami. 1-7 versus 1-7. I'm sure this was a hot ticket down in South Beach.
There will be 8 people at this game.
Yeah.
8 people at this game. This is yours.
Tyrod is back. Tyrod's off to one of the great starts of the season. Great game week 1. They win that.
Are
Great
they
half
playing
against
Tyrod?
us. Tyrod is back.
Tyrod is back.
He's
They're not
back.
playing, but last week he was back and they played the other kid.
He
Yes,
wasn't
but
ready.
Tyrod's starting this week.
He's starting?
Yeah.
Starting. Dolphins 24. Tyrod 23.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Yep, same.
Hey, hey, hey.
Same.
That was a little bit. That was that
was
song mixed
Fat
with
Albert.
Fat Albert.
Yeah, it was Fat Albert doing.
singing.
That was
Awful
Fat
Fat
Albert
Albert.
doing
Totally disrespecting
Axl
Fat
Rose
Albert.
doing Bob
Yeah,
Dylan.
I don't even know.
Yeah, it was a lot to get to there, but it all
We were
worked. I
there.
think I felt like it hit.
Yeah.
All right. Let's-
Tears for Fears. I mean, sowing the seeds of love is crushing on Twitter right now.
I'm sure
People
it is.
really loving it.
Raiders
That should count as a
visiting
freebie
the
in
New
the
York
stores.
Football Giants. Giants lose to KC on Monday night. Raiders 5-2 atop the AFC West.
And ripe for Ewing theory. Gruden out. No worries. You're safe, pal. Even incredible tragedy that happened there. But when I see, it's interesting because when you watched Hard Knocks, you would have said to yourself, Derek Carr just seems so phony. Like it seems so forced watching him. And then I've watched him this year, and it's the opposite. He's grown into himself. Seems like he's got a heck of a handle on this organization. He's got the pulse of it. Every time he has an availability, you come away impressed by it.
It's a great human.
Yeah.
He feels to me like the way that in Hard Knocks it was shot, it was kind of like watching Ted Lasso for the first few episodes. You're like, this guy, there's
I
no
haven't
way.
seen Lasso. Is it good?
Oh, it's great.
Oh, okay.
But you're like, there's no way that he is who he is. Like, it's just nobody is.
Seems too much.
It's too much. He's too good, too upbeat, too all of these things. And I think with Derek Carr, it was too much so you felt like it was fake, but it wasn't. It was just, that's just who he is, pure and simple.
I think also maybe it was painted that way. because they were
probably.
trying to maybe move off of him.
Yeah, Gruden might have had a hand in that. Well, they've moved off of Gruden. They're a team that rallies very, very well. Danny Dimes is going to be looking good. He's going to have that one. Sounded like the lady who fell on the grapes back in Atlanta, one of my favorite news clips, by the way.
Yeah.
I think she's hurt. Ooh, yeah, she is. Raiders, ram it.
Next, an interesting one in the 1 o'clock hour. Ravens playing host to the Vikings. Vikings 3-4. Ravens 5-2. Ravens, though, I don't know. I don't know what to make of them right now.
They're coming off a bye.
They are.
Rashad Bateman.
A lot of guys not
healthy.
practicing today.
Yeah, I think that's just how they roll a little bit. I'm not too concerned about it. Vikes just.
Who are they?
It's a brutal loss last week.
Who are the Vikings?
I don't know, but it's a brutal loss last week. It's an absolutely brutal loss. And I think it maybe carries over a little bit this week. Give me the Ravens by 7, 34-27.
I'm just going to do the opposite with them. I'm ready to write the
that's
Vikings
my
off
New
completely.
Orleans.
And so this week,
they're
going. Justin Jefferson on a halfback option from Dalvin Cook to maximize the fantasy points for the Sooning Snakes for the backdoor cover. Ravens win it, though. Ravens 30, Vikes 25.
Up next, guys, our next opponent next week, the New England Patriots, 4-4 on the year, and taking on the 4-4 Carolina Panthers. Who's for real? Who's not? Who's a pretender? Who's a contender? Bishop.
I think the Pats are for real. I mean, they went to L.A. and won. Mac Jones is playing the best of any rookie quarterback. I wonder if Kyle is going, I just should have went with what I wanted all along, which was a guy who would process quickly and throw it exactly where it's supposed to be over and over again. I think he fell in love with Trey Lance on a workout. But I think Jones was everything he wants, and they're getting a lot out of him. Give me the Pats to go down there, get to 5-4 with a 7-point win.
That's how you end up on the hot seat, making decisions like that.
I'm with you. I think same. I don't know who the Panthers are. I say ram it with the Pats. I'm with you.
All right. Up next. That was kind of a drama-free pick there. The Chargers.
$1 billion.
Visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Chargers are 4-3.
Billion.
The Eagles 3-5.
Billion.
They're still letting their roots grow
No,
underground.
they bloomed their flowers, and guess what? A couple of deer came over, ate them all. Chargers, ram it. I bet Gibbe, Gardner, Green Thumb Gibbe, nothing pisses people off more than when deer eats their flowers.
Deer eat the flowers.
Oh.
Yeah, I use a deer company that
No,
not like that. They just be
Stay
careful
away.
though. They're in the rut right now. The deer are kids. Be careful.
Aware. My dogs, no fear.
Don't approach.
Let's go.
Don't approach. Dicey times.
We move into the 425 games. Some games that were supposed to be good, but
That's a great phrase, in the rut.
in the rut.
So good.
49ers playing host to the Arizona Cardinals. Zegura thinks it's the best game of the week that's not Browns and Bengals.
Well,
Dad, can I believe in my team again? We got a big win. Kyle's not on the hot seat anymore. Can I? I love my Niners, Dad.
Nate, I told you Debo and Elijah are the truth. Back-to-back 100-yard games for Elijah. Nate, I hope you kept him on your fantasy team.
But, Dad, I used him to trade so I could get Chris Godwin. I thought it was a pretty good move at the time. Chris Godwin had an even better game than Elijah.
Nate, focus on the Niners and Niners only. Where's your love for the people like Joe? Joe, that figure was really nice. Can I have one for Christmas this year?
Maybe, Dad.
Nate, Vegas thinks that Kyler's not playing. It's a laugher, right?
Yeah, Dad, it is. Niners, ram it.
I'll roll with Kyler.
Yeah.
I don't think he's playing.
think
This
he's
line
playing.
went from Arizona -2.5 yesterday to Arizona +2.5 today. He did not practice today. He is a true game time decision if he thinks that he can protect
All right.
himself
So
in
then,
the pocket.
for the sake of this, if he's in,
I would do the
Cards.
same.
If he's out, can we agree with that? If he's out, Niners. Per Kyler. Cards per Kyler.
Yeah, that was a -2.5 when we looked at it yesterday.
That's true. Yeah.
They are now.
Well then,
dogs.
I'm with Pedro. No Kyler. With Kyler, I'm with Kyler.
Yeah. Kingsbury saying Kyler's a game-time decision. His sprained left ankle continues to progress. If the Cardinals feel like Murray can play at a high level in the pocket, make his progressions and protect himself, then he'll play.
And protect himself?
AKA game-time decision, a true game-time decision.
I don't think that you do that kind of stuff.
This is always the concern with him.
I don't think you. I think you just you're in a good. You know what's going on in that conference, and what's going on in that conference is you're one of the 5 teams that are going to be playing in the postseason.
Yeah.
You do not risk anything aggravating this, and this comes from somebody who's got Kyler in a couple leagues because I think he's fantasy gold is what he is. But let's take a look at their schedule real quick.
Well, you got about 60 seconds to make 2 more picks, Smalls.
They get the Niners, Panthers, at Seahawks, then the bye. So I know it's a division game. Maybe
I would
try to
win
get
this one.
Get him through that one,
Carolina.
sit him against Carolina, and then be healthy for Seattle in the bye.
In the bye, yep.
We'll see.
Next, game that was supposed to be America's Game of the Week. Kansas City playing host to Green Bay. No Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, you don't say.
You don't say.
He had a presser today.
He did.
Oh, boy.
Speaking of
At one point,
overshadowing some things.
McAfee had to cover up from laughing because they're friends, and that's a good relationship that he enjoys.
Just reading the transcript.
Reading the transcript.
You just go, boy, this is a human being here. State Farm on line 1.
Didn't see that coming.
What's the name of the kid, the State Farm guy?
Jake.
Jake from State Farm, yeah. Maybe not. A lot of Pat Mahomes.
My kid's dating a kid named Jake. I said, I'm not allowed to meet him unless he's in khakis and a red polo.
I do like that Jake guy.
He is good.
Packers, Jordan Love. The Chiefs shouldn't be favored. I think Love plays well. Packers cover.
Wow, same. So I thought, who in the world is taking the Packers this game? Nobody.
Nobody.
Us.
I am. Jordan Love.
Oh, high fives.
believe in life
Bro
after
fives.
love?
Bro fives. Sunday night
Rabbit.
football. No Derrick Henry. Adrian Peterson. Titans visiting the L.A. Rams. Los Angeles.
I love that. Rabbit. Oh, don't do it. No, don't do the Tannehill. It's too high.
Hey, man, it has been a week. Don't start knocking on the
Oh,
Don't Tannehill.
It's Ryan and Julio and
Oh,
AJ at the
no.
back door. Rams 49. Tannehill late. AJ Brown extends it. Is he in? Review says yes. 42.
Wow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. For a running back, getting in extra yards is great. Ball security, very important for gamblers. Keeping priorities straight, also important. Make sure all your bills are paid before you spend money on fun stuff like gambling. Get more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com. Us, Bengals, what do you got?
When we need to find a way to get a win, we do. It is not always pretty. But the Browns are going to go down there 24-20, and they are going to beat the Bengals.
Nick Chubb.
Nicholas Jamal Chubb. I'm a believer.
It's a Nick
and
Chubb game.
When I see him, I'm going to let him know that Gibbe has zero belief in him.
No belief in him.
None.
I mean, that's it. That's
Gibbe,
your
did you
that's the
did
route.
you buy
That and
Chubb
the defensive
Crunch
line?
and support him?
I
bought many boxes.
Cases.
That's right.
Cases.
You know what they said? Would you like a pallet? I said, you know what? I would.
Would you like a pallet? Tell you what.
I have not yet. I haven't found it anywhere.
It was out early. You missed the boat. Sorry.
Wow.
I'm with you.
Happens.
I'm with you. I believe in this team. I believe in our defensive line. I believe in Nick Chubb. I think you get a very tough win, one that's needed. Next level coming up next. We're back on Monday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.